going, pal? What's
I'm
doing?
good. How are you?
Everything all right?
Very good. You know, I'm in a good mood. Yeah. Why not? Why shouldn't I be in a good mood? I'm
Because
always in a good
you're
mood.
not always in a good mood. I could tell kind
You're
of.
wrong.
I know you for a long time now. It's over 20
you're
years or
wrong.
so. Yeah, you seem a little grumpy. Who's bothering you? Somebody bothering you?
Nobody's bothering anything. I'm very excited because on today's show, we're doing something we haven't done. We're going to have two guests, two separate interviews. We have the great Jerry Adler,
Hesh.
who played Hesh. We also have Mathew Price, who was our production sound mixer, who worked on all 86 episodes of The Sopranos. Now, we recorded these interviews separately a few weeks ago, and we thought it would be a great idea to put them together on one special episode. So we're going to go. Our first interview today is with the great Jerry Adler, who played Hesh, and he was in the pilot as well, wasn't he?
I believe so.
Yes, he was.
Terrific actor. He's 91 years old. He was nice enough to join us. Mathew Price has seen everything. He's seen everything from the beginning. He's got some great stories. Looking forward to these guys. So here we go. Here's Jerry Adler, my friends.
This is a legend, and he was a really big part of the show throughout the whole show. Fan favorite. Just an all-around great guy. And born in Brooklyn, New York, comes from an acting family. Great uncle was the Yiddish actor Jacob Pavlovich Adler, whose children were Stella and Luther Adler. Began his career as a theater stage manager, went on to direct many plays, including the 1976 revival of My Fair Lady, has appeared on 45 different TV series, including The Good Wife, Northern Exposure, Mad About You, Transparent, Rescue Me, of course, The Sopranos. He was in Manhattan Murder Mystery, In Her Shoes, Prime, and A Most Violent Year. Please welcome Mr. Jerry Adler, also known as Herman Hesh Rabkin. Welcome, Jerry.
Good to see you, pal. Thank you for doing this. Really appreciate it. How's everything? You look great.
You said you were surprised that you could see me, but I've been around. I haven't done much, but I'm around.
I hadn't seen you. Well, I ran into you when you were shooting Broad City, and I just happened to be walking by, and I saw you. But as the time goes on, everybody's doing their own thing. You kind of lose track,
Even though we're locked up in the house, it's pleasant to renew old friends. It's nice.
Absolutely.
I was remembering, Michael, the first day on the pilot. My first show on the pilot was a scene with you and Jimmy up in the office of the Bada Bing, remember?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. That was your first day.
That was my first day.
Yeah. Wow.
I was doing this dialogue about some guy. I had no idea what I was talking about. But I knew
how did you wind up? How did you wind up on the show? How did that all happen? What was the process of you being cast?
I did a couple of episodes of Northern Exposure, and David Chase wrote them. And we got along very well when we did Northern Exposure. Then when he was doing this pilot, he gave me a call and he said he had a cameo that he wanted me to do, and was I available? The strange thing, I was just getting out of the hospital. I had a gallbladder operation, and matter of fact, when you see me on the pilot, I'm wearing loose clothing because I was all bandaged up.
So you didn't have to, you didn't have to read, huh, Jerry? He just gave it to you.
I never did, no.
Yeah, I mean, you're one of the few people.
I got an offer on the phone.
Yeah, so you're one of the few people, because almost everyone that we've spoke to has had to audition for the show.
Really?
Regardless of who they were.
Everybody, I think. Really?
Yeah.
I think everybody.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Wow.
Yeah.
You were one of the chosen ones.
Did you know that it would be like a regular role that you'd be on for many episodes, or did he say just for the pilot? Or
originally, when he called me on the phone, he said it was a cameo in the pilot, and would I do it? I said, sure. I would do anything for him. And he said, it's called The Sopranos. And I said, well, I just want to warn you, I can't sing because I had no idea what the hell the show was about. And when the show eventually got picked up, they liked the character and wanted to keep it.
Did you know? You didn't know Jim. You don't. I assume you didn't know any. Did you know any of the actors? Did you know Nancy Marchand?
On the first day, I met Michael and I met Jimmy that same day because we had a scene for the three of us.
Yeah, but you did. You didn't. Did you know any of the other actors, Jerry?
I didn't know anybody
before the show. You didn't know anybody.
No, I didn't know anybody.
Was Hesh was based on a little bit on was Morris Levy? Is that one of the guys it was based on, or kind of alluded to? All right.
As a matter of fact, David told me one day that the original idea for the whole show was about Jimmy's father and Hesh, because David wanted to do it about music. And that became the impetus for The Sopranos.
And you worked with Jim a lot, and we all know what a good guy he was. I mean, you worked with him mostly with Jim, right?
It was great. The first time I met him was as I said, the Bada Bing. And he was this young guy. I think it was his first show too, wasn't it, Michael?
No, maybe a guest spot here and there, you know,
yeah.
like me too. It was my first series.
But he was not what he became to be. He was a young guy, just starting out.
Yeah.
All my scenes were with him. A wonderful, wonderful experience with him. And, one of the truly great guys.
And Jerry, so you came from obviously a showbiz family, right? I mean, you were a stage manager first. Did you always aspire to be an actor? Tell me how you started out.
My family was in the theater, the Adler family. My father was part of the group theater, which was
that was where Strasberg and Harold Clurman came from, right? That was that whole. What did your father do for them?
He was the general manager. He was the money man. I was a kid.
I didn't know that.
And of course, Stella Adler, Luther Adler, all the Adlers were with it. And
did you see some of those productions?
I saw all of them, but I was a young kid. I hardly remember it.
Well, that was where the whole Actors Studio really came out of, right? The group really came from the group theater. The Actors Studio kind of was an out. Yeah. Well, you remember in the Actors Studio?
I never was in it because I was in California. I went to California in the middle 80s, 82, 83. I was doing Mad About You, and that was the reason why I was on the contract for The Sopranos, because I was doing Mad About You. You guys know, when you do a sitcom, you do 3 weeks and have a week off.
Right.
And David used to give me a ring during one of those weeks and find out if I was going to be available on the 4th week. And if I was, I would fly in and do the show and then fly back. That's why I was not in all of them or on the contract.
Jerry, did you always aspire to be an actor?
Never thought of it. I was a stage manager and a director in the theater, and then I went on to television as a stage manager and director. Never thought about acting.
And then how'd that come about? One day, what?
A friend of mine who was a casting director called me. She was doing a movie called The Public The Public Eye with Joe
Pesci, right? Yeah.
Yeah. She said, every time the director describes who he wants for this part, he describes you. You got to come and meet him. And they set up a meeting, and there was a whole big thing. I met this guy. When I walked into the room, he did a big take on me. And I got the part, and after I got the part, the first day I was there, I said to him, when I walked into the room to audition, you did this take on me. What were you thinking? He said, you looked exactly like my father. And I said, I hope to God he can act. Again, I didn't audition much. Steve, I don't audition much. It's great. Yeah.
Now you worked with Woody Allen, as did I. Michael, I don't think ever did, though he got cast in one. And I had been a big
I was
fan.
supposed to, yeah, but I didn't do it because it was
had
the
been a big-
Sopranos pilot.
Yeah.
Great experience.
Did you like working with Woody Allen?
It was strange, but I enjoyed it. It was my second big movie, and of course I was very impressed being on a Woody Allen movie.
Yeah. And the reason I ask is because I remember asking Dominic, because he did the play with Woody Allen, and I don't think he was that fond of the process. And I said, what's it like working with him? He said, talk to Jerry Adler. He'll tell you about Woody Allen. And then I wind up working with him a few years ago, and I got my own taste of what that was like.
I was doing I was directing a soap opera in California, and I got a ring from a woman who had been casting David's Northern Exposure.
Uh-huh.
And she wanted to know if I was available to audition for Woody's movie. And this is the one time I did a big audition. I flew into New York, read about 5 scenes for him, and he was way in the dark. You don't see it. All you see, he sits on a couch, but the couch is turned around, so all you see is the top of his head. And you read the scenes, and you never hear anything, and you just go, thank you, goodbye. And I came out, and the casting director said, he loved you. I said, no, he didn't say a word. Because he read all the scenes, he loved you. And she said, before you leave, hang on a second. She went in to see him. She came out and said, I want you to go down for a costume fitting at the company. I said, come. So I said to myself, I'm getting a costume fitting. I got the part.
Uh-huh.
I went down there for the costume fitting. I said, hey, I got this part without much of a reading. And the guy said, no, they measure everybody because he doesn't want to fly you back to California and waste all that money to bring you back again. I didn't hear for like 4 months if I got the part in Manhattan Murder Mystery.
It's a very strange process. He was in the dark also when I auditioned. He was in the shadows. It was like being in one of his movies, kind of.
I didn't find that. I don't remember him being in the shadow. I remember him being kind of normal. I don't.
Yeah.
When I auditioned for him.
Yeah. He was so odd. After the first day, I said to the first day, how am I doing? He said, you're doing great. You're still here.
Well, he fired.
Yeah, that happens often, I heard, yeah.
I think the Purple Rose of Cairo. I think.
Did you do that?
No, but Michael Keaton, if I'm not mistaken, it was Michael Keaton who was the star, and he got fired very early on.
Yeah.
And then Jeff Daniels took it over. Yeah. You don't fuck around.
He's dependent on casting. He's totally dependent on casting. If you cast it correctly, you're in.
Jerry, you should have wrote a book. I'm sure you've got incredible stories of all your years in the theater and all the wacky actors. Yeah.
Yeah.
About?
What's the title? You have a title?
Next. What's next?
I like that a lot.
What's next for us?
Let me ask you a question. What was your favorite episode of The Sopranos? Or favorite episode scene? Hit is a hit. Yeah.
I think it was with you, Michael.
Well, we had the music stuff. Yeah. I played you the band, and you said they.
You played some record. And
yes. And you said, this is
and
not a hit.
Jerry, all your years, all the actors you've worked with, who is your favorite actor that you enjoyed the most, that you worked with? Your favorite?
Besides Steve and I
would say Jimmy. He was a wonderful, wonderful guy to work with. There was that warmth, there was that cooperation, there was that feeling of being with you, listening.
Yeah.
He was a really extraordinary human being.
Yeah, he was. How many episodes did you do? Do you remember? You were there through the
51.
whole
51.
51.
I've never counted.
Wow.
Total 50, which was great. How many were there?
That's a lot of episodes.
It was
86.
86.
86.
86 episodes. You know, Jerry, we had a lot of fun. There was a lot of parties. We've told people, I mean, you know, we had so many between the Emmys and the SAG Awards and the Christmas parties. I mean, they don't do it like that anymore. You know, there's not that many parties. I mean, we had rap parties and we had a lot of fun. You know, like you said, it was very much like a family. And
every time I went to California for the Emmys, and they flew all of us in, the whole bloody cast went in. It was a wonderful time.
It was great.
A lot of fun.
Great fun.
Michael used to get bombed at every time we got together. Remember, Michael used to get fall down.
I was the only one.
He used to get fall down drunk. Remember, Jerry?
Yeah, only me. I was the only one who ever raised a glass at those events. Yeah, we'd take over the Peninsula Hotel, the Peninsula roof, the roof pool, the bar. It was like we had the run of the joint for like a few days. It was great.
Wonderful that we still talk about all this after all these years. We still talk about this show.
Fantastic.
What other job did you have that you're still talking about after all these years?
You're right about that.
Down, what, 10 years ago? And we're still talking about
13.
it. It's extraordinary, isn't
it? It certainly is.
The public is still hooked on it. It's great.
Jerry, did Tony Sirico used to give you words of wisdom? Because he used to give us a lot of words of wisdom, especially at the Peninsula.
I used to give him words of wisdom. Don't touch my hair. I'll cut you. Where did you get the idea to do this wonderful podcast thing?
You know, a couple of producers approached us.
This is great. Great. Keep going.
I'm glad you could join us.
Thanks for coming on today, man.
You guys look like you haven't aged a bit.
I look better than Michael, don't I, Jerry? You can admit it. I look better than Michael.
Well, Michael got a beard.
He always did, Steve.
He's looking a little scraggly. I look better.
You're clean cut.
Jerry, thank you very much. I love you, pal.
Brother.
It's wonderful seeing you guys again and talking about the show.
We'll get together in New York. Let's have a dinner or lunch or something. I'll be on the Upper West Side. I'll come and see you.
That's a treat. You got it.
Take care, my friend.
All right, my friend.
Thank you, Jerry.
Be well, everybody.
We'll see you. Thank you. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed talking to Jerry Adler. I mean, that's a sweet.
He was a big part of the show. Really contributed a lot to the show. His character was very important, and he just was perfect. Perfect casting.
You know, I mean, he was one of the few voice of reason on the show. One of the few that all the guys, of course, Tony Soprano and Tony Soprano's father, Johnny, he was his consigliere over the years and really trusted his judgment and word about everything. Yeah. You know? And, of course, you know, the great scene. I mean, his background and coming from the Adler family and becoming was a director and a stage manager. I mean, Jerry's like 91 or 2 years old.
Is he really? Yeah.
I believe so. He was born in 1929. Born 1929. Wow. Yeah.
Yeah, he should write a book. That's a good idea. I hope he does.
Yeah. I'm sure he's got a lot of stories. I was going to ask him which actors he disliked and see if he would motherfuck a few people, but he's too nice a guy. All right. We'll be right back.
We'll be right back. What's good about our podcast is that we give, you know, everybody knows the actors, but not everybody knows the people behind the scenes, and they get a glimpse, like we wanted to do, behind the curtain, who was making the show. You're learning about film and television if you want through our guests and through their expertise, and we have a real expert with us today.
Well, this guy's an Emmy winner. He also was there from day one. He did the pilot.
He did the
pilot. All 86 episodes. Not that many people were involved in the show for all 86 episodes. He was there through just about every scene, if not every scene. So he saw the good, the bad, and the ugly. And
Yes, nominated for 7 Emmys, 5 for The Sopranos, but he won it just a couple of weeks ago for the first time this year for the Marvelous Mrs.
Maisel.
Maisel.
Marvelous
So that's a big
Mrs.
deal.
Maisel. And
Long overdue.
And, I used to break this guy's balls, if you can believe it. I used to call him the Susan Lucci of sound men, because Susan Lucci got nominated, I don't know how many times, and finally won.
And so she was a lot of times.
He finally won, my man. So let's bring on Mathew Price. Come on, baby. There he is.
Hey, guys. How are you?
Hello, Mr. Lucci.
All right. Not to brag, but actually I got 6 nominations for Sopranos and 2 for Maisel, and I finally won for Maisel.
8 nominations.
That's
8
fantastic. I'm really proud of you.
Yeah.
I'm not bullshit.
Thank you. You inspired me, Steve. I've repeated it a million times about how I've been called the Susan Lucci of sound for it's been 21 years since my first nomination was Sopranos.
That's great. And now, Mrs. Maisel, great show. You landed on 2 terrific, I'm sure a bunch of stuff which we'll talk about, but 2 really good shows, kind of bookending things, Mrs. Maisel, a hit show. You enjoying that?
It's a great show. I mean, everyone's terrific on it. It's a lot of fun, comedy, music. It's a big show. It's very challenging. It's big cast, great cast. So we have so much fun. We laugh a lot.
So
Matt, can you explain to our listeners who are not familiar with, the ins and outs of production, what exactly does a production sound mixer do in a nutshell?
Sure. In a nutshell, I'm primarily responsible for recording the dialogue on set while the cameras roll and the actors act. It's not just about recording sound, it's about capturing vocal performance. And that's essentially what I do. I run a department with a boom operator. He's the guy who holds the long pole with the mic at the end. And I have a utility person who will also be a boom operator or runs headphones, whatever, kind of the backbone of the department needs to be done on set.
So did you start out as a boom operator?
I was a boom op very briefly. I like to think I'm a better mixer than I was a boom operator, but I did start as a boom operator in narrative work. Before I was mixing stuff like Sopranos, I had done a lot of documentary work. I worked at 60 Minutes for a long time, was a big gig, and 2020 and that kind of stuff, and then some independent documentaries and stuff like that. But I went on to do narrative. That was kind of limited way technically, and it kind of became the same. And then I just started mixing some short films. But I got the boom for a guy named Lee Orloff, who's now won 3 Academy Awards, I think. He's done The Abyss and Terminator and Pirates of the Caribbean, and so I was just lucked into that. And then
what'd you do with him? Which projects?
Oh, I did not much. We did some independent film called Salvation. I don't even know what happened to it. And we did a short film where the comedian Stephen Wright did a short film, won Academy Award for a short, something like that. So I didn't boom long before I started mixing. But I did short films first, and then my first feature was called True Love by Nancy Zaboka.
Wow.
Yeah.
First feature for Aida, first for Vinny Pastore, and first for Annabella Sciorra.
And Marianne Leone, who played your mom.
And Marianne Leone played my mom.
That's
all
incredible.
First features. That is cool.
So it was fun. And actually, I met my first wife on that, who played Annabella's mom, even though she's only like 6 years older than her at the time. But,
Who was that?
Suzanne Costalos was her name.
Right,
she left the business a while ago. She was in a Hal Hartley film called Trust. She'd done some stuff like that, but then she left the business. And then I was trying to get my career going, so I would call around, I'd volunteer for projects to get experience, to meet people, and I wound up on a short film, a 6-day project that was called at the time Scene 6 Take 1. And the short was so well received, the director, Tom DiCillo, got the money to make a whole film, and that became Living in Oblivion.
Which is about making an independent, all the crazy stuff that goes on when you make an indie film. And it's Steve Buscemi.
The first time I worked with Steve Buscemi. It's the first time I worked with him, and I did 2 more films with him, double whammy, and I forget another one. Somehow I wound my way to Sopranos, because when I did the short, there was a woman named Elise Bazzaler who was like the unit production manager. I worked for free for 6
I knew
days.
Elise. Yeah, I've worked
Yeah,
with her.
and Elise wound up doing the Sopranos pilot.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if you guys know this, but the pilot started with a whole different sound team. And on day
I didn't
one,
know that.
yeah, on day one, I actually started on day 3. On day 1, they got into a big beef with Henry Bronstein, who was our AD
The
at
sound,
the time.
the original sound team got in a big
Original
beef.
sound team.
Henry was like the UPM for the pilot, right? Or the
and
line producer?
the assistant director.
Assistant director.
Yeah, so they basically, depending on who you ask, they either quit or got fired on day 1. I think I know the story, but anyway, so I got the call from Elise, and I came in on day 3. Fortunately, I was available, and changed my life because it became 10 years, and it was the greatest show on TV. So,
And what did you think when you got on this? What was your first impressions of The Sopranos? I mean, you came on; it was already in production. You kind of came last minute. What was that like?
Do you remember your first day? Your first day, what it was like?
I don't remember my first day, but I remember within the first week. It's a Henry story. Henry and I would have these epic battles on set all the time. I love Henry. I have so much respect for him. I love him as a director. I've worked with him a bunch of times on different projects after Sopranos. And there was a scene when Meadow had snuck out and she's trying to sneak into the house again through the back window, and Carmela comes out with the rifle, right?
Yes.
And because she thinks there's an intruder. And so I'm waiting on my sound card. And as soon as I got to the card, Henry was up my ass to hurry up. So I'm like, I'm moving as fast as I can. I can only move so fast. And he's like yelling. And I remember saying, you already lost one sound department. I don't think you want to lose another one. I'll be as quickly as I can. So that's the first day I remember being on set. But it was great. I love the script. It was so different. And then we shot the pilot over 3 weeks. And we were all like, I don't know. It's interesting. It's different. Will it
I had no idea.
HBO even pick it up? No. I knew it was good. I mean, the performances were great. The writing was great. It was quirky. It was funny. I mean, some of my favorite scenes were Tony's dream about the ducks. Oh, by the way, I brought this out to show you. I have a T-shirt from the pilot.
Oh, wow.
Swag from the pilot, and that's the back.
Wow.
Says,
I've never seen that.
That's a rarity.
That's cool.
Yeah. So I still have that. I don't have the boxers that Jamie Lynn gave us that said Red Sopranos across the butt. I don't have those anymore. But I still got, the leather jacket and a lot of great swag. But yeah, so there's some great stuff in it, but who knew? Who knows what the public's going to like? Who knows what's going to hit and what's not going to hit? And then there was a few months before HBO actually decided to go to series with it. So we had a little
like
downtime.
3-4 months.
Yeah, it was like 3 or 4 months. And then I heard, because I was pretty new to the game at that point, that they were thinking about possibly hiring a different mixer who had more experience than me when they got picked up for the show. But fortunately for me, and he was a great mixer. His name was Billy Sorokin. He just retired. But anyway,
I know Billy.
Yeah, Billy. Anyway, so they brought me back for it, and then we shot the rest. The other, I think, first season was 13 episodes, so we shot the other 12 episodes, and we thought it was fantastic. I mean, it was so. I mean, working with Jimmy and working with everyone, Edie and Jimmy and Lorraine. I mean, it was like all-star. It was great, and the writing was terrific, and all our great directors. I don't know if Timmy Van Patten was there season 1 or not. I'm pretty sure Alan Coulter was. But anyway, and then, we wrapped the season. You go, oh, that was great. Let's see what happens. And then we got picked up for a second season. I think before the first season hit the air. But I think it didn't hit the air did it hit before we started shooting the second season?
Oh, yeah. It hit the air January 99,
right.
and
That's right.
And it just went gangbusters. The reviews were just ridiculous. I mean, the reviews really kind of made the show. Everyone was forced to watch it because the reviews were so ridiculously over the top.
Yes, yes.
That was January 99.
On the map. That's right.
Completely put them on the map.
Yes. Matt,
totally.
So it's touchy because sometimes the sound man, look, I'm going to call you a sound man. You don't care, right? So you're putting a mic on me.
I got an Emmy. You can call me whatever you want.
Exactly. But you're blowing, I'm blowing my lines. Not everybody's in the greatest mood all the time. People are freezing. People are hot. People are sweating. It's not always ideal, as we know.
Right.
First of all, two questions. What's the weirdest place you ever hit a microphone on somebody?
On Sopranos or just in general?
In general. I mean, the people don't know that it's in your tie, the microphone, it's in your hat, your tie, your jacket,
Well, the guys on Sopranos were great because they always wore these polo shirts or nice soft cotton. It was easy to hide the mic in the placket, and it's like they always sounded great. The women were tougher. I know Drea, Adriana was wearing these really short skirts, so it was really tough finding ways. And now the transmitters are like this big, but then they were like huge. So we had to try to hide it. And, I remember doing a movie, Sidewalks of New York, Brittany Murphy, rest in peace. And she was wearing a towel. And I had to put a transmitter on her. And it was in unmentionable places that I had to hide it. And on Maisel, we did a scene in a swimming pool in the last season. And fortunately, Rachel Brosnahan, who plays Mitch Maisel, was wearing a swimming cap. So I put the transmitter and I might put the mic under the cap. And, we put it in over ears, under wigs, anywhere we can hide it. It's not the mic hiding it so much because it usually has to be in general area, around here. But it's trying to squeeze the packs in. So now I have these tiny little devices.
So you got to get creative.
They're really
get creative.
Got to get
No,
creative.
but sometimes you're trying to put the pack on. The actor's running his lines. He's in a bad mood. Sometimes you get caught in the crossfire, I would assume.
I think a good sound mixer tries to be, not that I have the most low-key of personalities, but I think a sound mixer in that situation has to be kind of as invisible as possible. I mean, I've wired actors. Sometimes they're in there running lines or whatever, and they come to me. I've wired them. They come to me and say, "You're going to wire me?" And I go, "You're already wired." And they don't even realize it.
That's me.
Me too.
I'm like that.
But Jimmy was tricky because I went down his pants leg a lot, and I it's like he's opening his pants. The funny thing is, I wire the guys. I got to run a wire down the leg, put the transmitter on the ankle, and I'm sitting there on my knees. Their pants are open. It's a little uncomfortable. But Jimmy would always be walking around. I'm trying to wire, and I'm chasing him around with the microphone, and he's talking to this, and like the makeup people, he would take makeup and put it all over their face. While they were trying to make him up, he would just smear it all over them.
That's right. I remember that.
Yeah.
What were some of the big challenges of the show? Like for you, from your point of view, it's even in a general sense, or even specific scenes or things that were really, really difficult and really challenging, or that were really rewarding once you got it done and when it came together.
The biggest challenge for the show was noisy locations.
MacArthur Highway in Newark, remember that?
I think it was Route 21. Also, Lodi, the exterior of Bada Bing, Satin Dolls in Lodi. So it's right on the highway. I mean, we're talking, They would always pick the biggest dialogue scenes at rush hour. I remember there was, I think when Uncle Junior first got the nod to lead it, and they had the room with 18 guys in it.
Wow.
And that was really challenging when you had these big crews. So I put radio mics out. We'd hide mics on tables. We'd have a boom op or two, and I had to put that all together and make it sound like it's one. Like it doesn't even sound like it's mic'd. So that was tricky. There's some other big scenes like that. Oh, sometimes the back room at the pork store. You guys, they would have meetings back there, this, that, and the other.
Around the table. Everybody be sitting around the table and those things. But the whole show was shot on film, right?
The whole series was shot on 35 millimeter film.
35 millimeter.
Hey, Matt, what was your favorite kind of scenes on The Sopranos? Did you like the big ones where there was all the guys? I mean, did you enjoy the Soprano house? I mean, what was just your favorite scenes? You saw every scene.
Pretty much. You
were there the whole time, pretty much the entire way,
Yeah. Well, the Pine Barrens, of course, is everybody's favorite episode, and that was tough because we're out in the snow. It wasn't supposed to snow when they wrote it. And then we had this major blizzard that came in, which made made the episode fantastic. I have to say, I'm not just blowing smoke. Sopranos never got boring. The scripts were so brilliant. I mean, I always thought that we laughed so much on that set. We had so much fun making it. I mean, the hours were ridiculously brutal, especially the first season. I mean, there wasn't a Saturday I didn't see the sun come up after working a 70-hour week. We worked these all-nighters on Friday. But, it was really great time. Jimmy, set the tone on set. And he's just a joy to be around. It's hard to pick like a specific scene. The fun stuff, the dinner scenes in the Soprano house were great. Yeah. I love the scenes that Michael did when he was trying to be a Hollywood writer. I remember a big scene that was tricky because there was a massive downpour of rain that flooded downtown Manhattan, and we're out in the playground with John Favreau and Alicia Weber? And D-Girl.
Alicia Witt.
Yeah.
Alicia Witt, yes, and D-Girl, right? I don't know, A Hit is a Hit was my first nomination back in season 1, and that was fun because I always love whenever there's music involved. It's a little more challenging because it's not just talking. So we had to get to all that music that was happening. A lot of it was done live. It's all you guys. I can't think of anyone I didn't enjoy working with.
Oh, come on. You didn't love everybody. Stop bullshit. What about on Mrs. Maisel, that little prick, Kevin Pollak? He's a half a prick, ain't he? Okay, don't answer.
Let's put it this way. At a rap party, Kevin said to me, for a sound guy, you're not too bad, or not too annoying. And I said to him, coming from you, I take that as a compliment.
There you go. You worked with a bunch of Italians. Now you're working with a bunch of Jews. Whose food is better on set?
Oh, Maisel, Amazon Prime, man, they put a lot of money into everything. They spent a lot of money on that show. It's the first show I worked at that was at the same scale as Sopranos because we know HBO put a lot of money into it. And of course, Jimmy brought out the sushi spread every episode.
On Fridays,
Fridays, yeah. I like Italian food.
Well, I got to tell you, Matt, I couldn't thank you enough for doing this. We love you. Thank you so much.
I have a funny story for you, though.
All right.
I don't know if I haven't heard any other interviews. I just got to talk about these Melfi scenes. They were kind of the toughest to actually shoot because they would go on and on and on. Once they had to put in a double-sized mag because the scene was so long they couldn't get through it with the regular 11 minutes. They needed 22 minutes of film, and it was just brutal. But in one of the Melfi scenes, somehow Lorraine found a 2-foot long or so braid, like a hair piece that was like a braid, and she sat on it. And we're on Jimmy's close-up, and we don't see Lorraine. And he's going on and on, pouring his heart out in this big Melfi scene. And all of a sudden, Lorraine slowly opens her legs, and this hairpiece just falls out into the floor. And it took a second before Jimmy recognized it, and it was havoc. It was havoc.
That's a good one. I've never heard that.
That's really funny. I never heard that either.
That sounds like Lorraine, though. She likes to.
Yeah.
She's a prankster, that's for sure. She likes to have fun.
She was great. Yeah, and that voice. Oh my God, I loved her voice.
And they did those. They did the Melfi Tony scenes mostly on Friday nights, very late, right?
Yeah, there was one time they bunched like 3 of them together, and we had already worked 50 hours for the week. Now we get on the stage. There's nothing worse than being on a stage because you have to be inside. I mean, it's like it's one thing to do night work when when it's exterior, and you got to be outside at night because it's night. But when they're interior nights and you have to work all night when you could be shooting it during the day. And they once stacked like 3 or 4 Melfi scenes together, and it's like halfway through, I'm hearing snoring on the set. It's like I had to stop, because people are snoring. But Friday nights at Silver Cup Studios.
That's funny. That's really funny. Well, Matt, thank you very much, man. You take care of yourself.
Man.
Congratulations again.
Big congrats, man.
You're forever Emmy winner, Mathew Price.
You can't take that away from me now.
Long overdue.
That's on your tombstone, don't forget.
That's what
What's
I'm
on
going to
your
say.
tombstone, Steve?
It was all bullshit.
It was
It was
all
all
bullshit.
bullshit. That's on my
There you go.
tombstone.
That's on
I
yours.
like it.
I want you to rig my tombstone with sound, so when the people walk up to it, it's my voice going. It was all bullshit. Can you do that for me?
Just on a loop.
On a loop.
Absolutely.
On a loop.
We'll work it out. All
All right, man.
Thank you,
All right,
man.
brother.
Take care, brother.
Thank
Pleasure.
you
You
very
too.
much, Matt.
Bye now.
Mathew Price.
Good man. That guy's
Yeah.
a good cat. Always has been. He was a favorite of all the cast.
Absolutely. I'm really glad he got his due with the Emmy. That's good.
All right, let's take a break, man,
a
and
break.
we'll get back.
All right.
All right. So we are back. Let's get into this episode. This is season 4, episode 2. The title is No Show. It originally aired September 22nd, 2002.
Written by David Chase and Terry Winter together. Directed by John Patterson. No Show, of course, refers to the way the mob gets job assignments on construction sites and when they're involved in the thing. So a no-show job is you don't show up, but you get a paycheck, you get the benefits and all that. No work means you have to show up between 10 and 3:30.
But you don't do anything.
You don't got to do a damn thing.
But this still goes on today. There's a lot of this in existence, right?
I would imagine it's based on real stuff. Yeah, like a lot of the show is. Sure. That's how they do their, the mob was involved in the unions. They get, as their deal, they get a certain amount of these types of things to work with. So you want your job to go smoothly. You want to get a good contract. You want to grease the wheels. You got to give up these jobs.
And I got to think that these jobs are worth $2,000, $2,500 a week.
They're union jobs, right? And like it's mentioned in the episode, they only work from 10 to 3:30. They probably get a lunch break in there and a couple of other breaks. They're hanging around
money.
making bets.
It's
good
figures.
money and there's benefits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I need I need one of these jobs.
You get a podcast no-show job.
I would like that.
You get paid.
And you're
still
yourself.
on the bill, talking Sopranos with your name, Michael and Steve, but you don't have to show up.
Exactly. You would like that. You would like to just do it yourself. You would like to do it yourself.
I'm in discussions about that. Yeah, I'm talking to some people about
You
that.
would like to do it just the Michael Imperioli show.
Talking Sopranos. Talking Soprano. That'll be the name of it.
Let's get started here. We have the agent Deborah is at Chickarone's house. Adriana's shaving her leg. She calls. She says, I have, my cousin came through with those day spa certificates. She answers the phone, interesting enough. This is Deborah, the FBI agent, a.k.a.
Danielle,
a lilac personal shopper. That's how she answers this phone. She's going to meet her at Daffy's. Daffy's at 11. I don't know if Daffy's is around anymore.
I think they went chapter 11, if I'm not mistaken. Daffy's was like kind of it was like fashion clothes store, and you'd get designer brands for less.
It's like Burlington, like
it's like that.
Marshalls, like
Century
that, right?
21, like that. I don't think they're around that much anymore. But I have to say, she's got Adriana hook, line, and sinker, man.
Well,
She's got her believing she's a friend. They're doing shit together. They're hanging out, and they got her good.
Well, I think Adriana is, and I've said it before, no malice in her. I think she's innocent. She's kind of an innocent, though she's a gun moll. She's one of these, she likes hanging around, obviously, the mob stuff, but basically
she's
innocent.
Lonely. I think she doesn't have it. She says it in one of the episodes. She goes, I don't have any friends.
Well, Christopher's got to be out. He's got to be out 12 hours a day, hustling, dealing, hustling, hanging, getting high, getting drunk.
And he's not, he's during the night usually. Like he doesn't wake up early in the morning. So he probably gets up 12, 1 o'clock, has has lunch with her, and then he's off. And he probably, he
He's
has
off, he
one or
runs
two
around,
nights a week.
He's making a living. He's on Tony. He's at Tony's beck and call. It's not easy. Listen, I got to be honest. It's instead of a mob guy, you're better off getting a 9-to-5 gig, man.
Well, the pressure, the danger, the threat, the fear, that's not easy.
I don't know.
It's certainly
I don't
not
know
easy
if it's
living with
worth
all
it.
that.
So the Soprano kitchen, Carmela's making lunch. Meadow comes down. It's 2 p.m. She just woke up. She's going out by the pool. Carmela says you were going to get up at 8:30 to be at TCBY Yogurt. That used to be around. I don't know if they're around anymore. When the
Meadow's
manager
on
got-
vacation. Yeah, she's at a resort. She's ordering food. She's at the pool. She's not getting up at 8:30 to go for some
but she's
yogurt
also,
interview.
there's 5 days left to school. Why's Carmela even on her ass about it? I mean, the ship has sailed. She was supposed to have an internship at the paper mill playhouse. They bought her a car so she could go out there. She didn't like the internship. She said, she was making copies.
She was making copies. They had no stagecraft. The Paper Mill Playhouse is like probably the top regional theater in New Jersey. It's also been called the State Theater of New Jersey. They do a lot of big productions, sometimes productions that go on to Broadway and stuff like that. But, a lot of kids who are entitled, who grow up like she did with everything kind of handed to you, get them an internship, and they resent having to make copies or get coffee or something like that. They think they should be, I don't know.
Absolutely.
I've seen that happen.
Listen, she's as spoiled as can be. She's arguing with her mother. She keeps taking phone calls, gossiping with the friends. She's condescending here to her mom about the book she reads, et cetera, et cetera. She says she blames everything on her ex-boyfriend dying, which, don't get me wrong, is extremely traumatic for a 19-year-old. Absolutely, positively. But she says, I took 12 credits 2 semesters in a row. You're supposed to take 16 credits. That's a full load. 12 is the minimum to be a full-time student, so it's not that big a deal what she's doing, as far as that goes.
Although Columbia is Columbia has, what she brings up, the canon. The canon at Columbia is a bunch of great books of the world that everybody who goes there is required to read. And there's a certain amount you have to read. There's Homer, the Bible, Aeschylus, Sophocles, Plato, Virgil, Shakespeare, Cervantes.
But listen,
Toni Morrison even, I think, is one.
You went to an Ivy League school. That was your choice. That's what you have to dig in and do the work. So when you do graduate, usually Ivy Leaguers are first in line to be hired. Oh, this girl went to Columbia. This girl went to Harvard, Princeton, and that's what that's all about. Meadow is nasty, condescending.
Spoiled.
She's arguing with her mother. Something that I noticed, there's mayonnaise on the counter. She's making tuna sandwiches with Italian tuna. I think it's tono, which is Italian tuna, and a big jar of Hellman's mayo. Somebody got a thing for mayonnaise on this show, because it's
tuna with mayonnaise is very common.
No, I understand that, but we saw it in the Pine Barrens. Mayonnaise. We've seen it numerous times.
I don't know. I think you might be the only one who's interested in that.
No, there's other people knows about the mayonnaise thing. The people out there, if you know about the mayonnaise thing, please write in and tell me about it.
Steve.
They notice it. They notice about it. Carmela wants her to register for the classes. She said, well, my grades were going down because my ex-boyfriend died. She said they were going down when you were with Jackie. Now the bell rings. Here comes another little shit-ass girl smoking a cigarette. Comes into the house
Misty.
with cigarette in hand. Misty. She said there's a guy with a ponytail in the driveway. What is his story?
Carmela immediately starts to primp and look at herself in the mirror and fix her hair. Obviously, that tells us she has some interest in Furio.
She makes Furio coffee. He tells her he's buying a house. She says, "Oh, so you're going to stay then?" This thing is starting to percolate.
She asks if he's going to be a citizen. He's like, no, you don't need that. He's not worried about being a citizen. You know, the thing about Meadow is, yes, like you said, her friend died. It's a horrible thing. Part of it's that she, I think, doesn't want to do the work and is kind of checking out and not sure she wants to, have this kind of workload, or, and some of it's being entitled and spoiled. There's a combination of those things going on.
I think it's very much that. And the same thing, AJ has the same thing. These two kids grew up spoiled, rotten. And I got to tell you, Carmela is a little too much, man. She needs to back off a little bit. It might work in her favor.
Well, we really see it in this episode. Yeah, they're a little too, what do they call that? Helicopter parenting? That kind of
parents.
Thing? Yeah.
I wrote a book about raising daughters. I could teach them a little something.
Big Daddy's Rules. It's a very good book. And I think
I could teach a little something. She's not handling this correctly, in my opinion. We're at the Vesuvio in the back room. I remember shooting this. It was always a lot of fun when we were all together. A lot of
on the stage,
deep into the night, and everyone was in this scene. It's Albert Barisi's birthday. They're talking about the Harry Potter books. I don't even know. Do you want to know something? I have no idea what Harry Potter's about.
He's a magician, not a sorcerer.
A wizard?
Boy wizard, yes. Boy wizard.
I have no idea. There's so many, like Uncle Junior says, I could fill a book with what I don't know. I have no fucking idea of so many things. It's amazing. He tells a joke about Ralphie, tells a joke about Ginny Sack getting a 95-pound mole taken off her ass. The guys laugh. They laugh hard.
They laugh hard. It's not the first time they've made jokes about Ginny Sack.
Yes.
But they do. They laugh hard. Tony gets up and leaves. And he does this a couple of times coming up. Is it because he doesn't want to be around? He's protecting himself from them talking about business.
Yeah, he's starting to do that. That's what
he's doing.
Christopher with the blood, and he doesn't want. We'll see later on as episodes come. He says he doesn't want to get involved, but he does get involved.
He's involved, but he leaves. Like in the Schwitz later on, when he's with Zellman and Maurice, he leaves. Yeah. When it comes to business, he's there for the small talk and the chatter and the jokes. Business, he leaves. He
doesn't want to go to jail. He's had a scare. He's had a scare with Junior and stuff, and he's trying to distance himself from problems. Like in Goodfellas, what was it? Paul Sorvino character, what was that? Paulie? He would never talk on the phone, and he wouldn't do this and wouldn't do that, and he managed to stay out of jail for a long time until Henry Hill snitched on him, right?
Did you notice little Paulie has a kind of a slight, subtle wing? Did you notice in this scene?
Yeah, I did notice
that wouldn't even register on the wingometer, I don't think. I don't think it would even pick it up.
But I don't think that was put there. It's a real wing.
Oh, yes. No, it was put there.
Oh, it was put there.
That was deliberate, yeah.
It runs in the Gautieri family.
He's little Paulie. He gets a little wing. Yeah.
Wow, isn't that something?
But it would not. I don't think, because I tried the wingometer and it didn't move the needle. It didn't move the needle at all.
No, I understand that completely. Ralph, they sit down. Silvio, they're having a sit down, saying Chrissy now is the capo of the crew, as Paulie is in the can. Patsy does not like this.
Nor does Silvio, we come to find out.
Oh, yeah. He's the acting capo. Silvio, Ralphie's not happy. Silvio's not happy. Patsy kind of hits little Paulie, tells him to shut up. He winds up getting 5 no-show jobs. Chrissy gets one, which is a
Chrissy
feather
and
in his
Paulie get
cap.
one, and there's 3 no-work jobs that Paulie gets to do whatever he wants with.
And him in turn, what he would do when it says whatever he wants, but he'll pay a favor off. Somehow he'll get half of that money. Blah blah blah. He'll work something.
That's got to
out.
be kicked up to him.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Sure. He's not just. What do you think? He's giving them out like Christmas gifts? No. Especially Paulie. We're in the parking lot. Christopher and Silvio are walking to the car. Silvio, it's a big responsibility, Chrissy. Chrissy makes a joke. First thing I'm going to do is get wings in my hair. Silvio does not like the joke or doesn't get the joke or is so annoyed that he's the acting capo now.
I think it's that. I think he's annoyed. Something.
Yeah, but I mean, I don't think Christopher has earned this job, personally. He's getting it because he's Tony's nephew, the blood, stay close, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. I don't
And
think
that you think he resents. Silvio resents that.
Yeah, I don't think Christopher's earned this. He's young, not the brightest bulb. You know?
No, he probably hasn't. I don't think he's earned it based on what he's done. Obviously, we know why Tony's doing it because he wants to, rely more on, blood, like he said, and that's partly Christopher. So he's ruffling a lot of feathers, and Tony doesn't really give a shit that he's ruffling feathers here.
He does not. We're at the Crazy Horse. Adriana and Deborah sitting at the bar. They're having a heart-to-heart talk, drinking apple martinis, it looks like. She tells her that Adriana really opens up. No one knows this in the world, not her mother, not Christopher, that she had an abortion years ago, had some complications.
Right. She really opens up. She's very vulnerable in front of her, and that she's not going to. There's a good chance she won't be able to have kids. They kind of bond there, or she thinks she's bonding. And in walks Christopher and little Paulie. I think Christopher's thinking maybe he's going to hook little Paulie up with her somehow.
At this point,
that's part of his thing. Yeah.
Christopher says there's something wrong with that broad. Adriana, something wrong with you. And then he gives her a diamond bracelet. Harry Winston.
From Harry Winston, which is where Tony got the jewelry for Carmela. Christopher kind of is kind of playing with mimicking Tony a little bit. One with the Harry Winston. Later on, we'll see there's certain phrases that he parrots and repeats out of Tony, although he resents Tony at the same time for certain things. But yeah, Harry Winston is where Tony got this stuff for Carmela.
He says
that's a beautiful piece of jewelry.
Yes. He says there's more carrots. It's got more carrots than Bugs Bunny. Personally, right. I think Bugs Bunny is the most famous cartoon character in the world. What do you think?
He was my favorite growing up. I think I'll tell you, I've mentioned some actors that I admired, like Al Pacino and John. One of the reasons I became an actor, I think, was Bugs Bunny.
Bugs Bunny?
I think so. I think so.
That smart aleck. He's always got a quip, Bugs. He's got a quip, he's a smart aleck, he's a wise
ass. And he'd make the people who were trying to get over on him look like idiots.
He's a wise
which I always liked. He's from Brooklyn. I like that he had a New York edge to him. I always really admired Bugs Bunny. I'll tell you the truth. He was a real beacon of sanity in my childhood. He was
a cross-dresser very early on. He would dress up as a woman a lot.
That was part of his, disguise.
He dressed up as a woman. Sometimes he had the Chiquita Banana.
Carmen Miranda.
Miranda.
He did Carmen Miranda. He could dress up as anything, though. He was kind of a shapeshifter.
Yeah. He's very talented.
And
as an actor, he had a lot of range.
Range. I think he was actually based on a real character, a real person or something. I don't think it was. I think it was based on a person, not a rabbit, to be honest. I'm not sure. We got to look that up.
Mickey Mouse, a famous cartoon character.
I was not interested in Mickey Mouse.
Homer Simpson, very famous. Homer Simpson's
very funny.
He's in a lot of people's top 20. Charlie Brown, Bart Simpson.
Do you know where the name comes from, Homer Simpson?
No.
It's from Day of the Locusts.
Oh, really?
The Nathaniel West book, which was turned into a movie starring Donald Sutherland. Much better as a book than a movie. But the movie's it's about old Hollywood.
And his name is Homer Simpson?
the lead character's name is Homer Simpson.
Wow.
It's a very disturbing movie, and especially the end.
Now,
Worth seeing. Interesting. Really good book, though.
You're a big Simpsons fan, aren't you?
I like The Simpsons, yeah.
Daffy Duck, who is one of my favorite, the top 2 or 3 of my favorite cartoon characters, Daffy Duck. I'm a big fan. I also am a fan of Foghorn Leghorn.
I think they were all the same voice. Mel Blanc.
I
think he did all of it. I think
Fred
he might have done all of it.
Very popular.
Well, that was a Honeymooners ripoff, the Flintstones. We know that.
Well, he was a Honeymooners ripoff and King of Queens. Isn't that a version of the Honeymooners?
I've never seen the King of Queens. I wouldn't.
It's a very funny
know.
show. Extremely funny. Extremely. And that's a version, I believe, also of that. Fred Flintstone, Yogi Bear, Popeye, The Grinch.
Popeye, I love.
And SpongeBob.
Yogi Bear, no. SpongeBob, no.
Well, people that smoke weed, they watch SpongeBob, don't they?
Really?
That's a stoner thing, I think.
Is
those in Adult Swim, all those cartoons on Adult Swim, they smoke weed, that kind of shit.
I didn't know that.
You had no idea about that?
No. Why would I know that?
She says that Danielle brings up that her old boyfriend from Staten Island used to carry a gun. And Adriana, volunteers. So does Christopher. He deals with cash. She says stocks.
Cash business.
Yeah.
What's funny is Christopher says to Adriana, he goes, I had a great conversation with Silvio today, which is not true at all. They had a horrible conversation.
Danielle, she was going to recommend the OBGYN in the city. Listen, it's all, a lot of the mob stuff, it's all about, your appearance, your shtick. He wants to impress Adriana. He got a little promotion, and Silvio, and he's running with the big guys now,
He is. He's very exciting to him.
Janice's house. Ralph and Janice are watching Faces of Death. Tony Knox.
Faces of Death. That's a movie from 1978. It's a mixture of staged violence and some real violence, some real deaths. Yeah. There's that famous scene where they have the monkey in the middle of the table and they open his head and eat the brains. I think that's fake, but based on something disgusting and real, apparently. But it's a disturbing
horrible.
thing.
This is not a movie I would ever watch.
No, there's an actual dead victim of I think bicycle accident and stuff. Ralphie's really into it. Remember, we've brought this up several times.
Have you ever
Ralphie's
tasted monkey brains? Have you eaten monkey brains?
No, all that shit's disgusting.
To me, that's
disgusting. Yeah, Ralphie's they allude to him as the devil, Satan. So maybe that's why he's watching this shit. And I think Janice, I don't think Janice is into it. I think she's doing it
cozy.
For Ralph.
He's got a big thing of popcorn. They're under the blanket together. They're watching this. Tony knocks on the door. Ralphie runs upstairs. She says, I was around the corner. Tony was around the corner of Bacala. How is he? He's fat. That's a little insulting since I don't have the fat suit on now. But when I had the fat suit on, I didn't care. Now, this is a little insulting. Did you write that line by any chance?
I didn't write this episode.
No, but I know, but other writers throw shit in. I thought maybe you did that.
Wow, you're paranoid, man.
Yeah.
Were you smoking weed today? Are you stoned?
I don't smoke weed.
Is that why
I don't smoke weed. Never been a weed guy. Never. None of that stuff. Janice is scrambling, right? She tells him, which is funny. He finds Ralphie's shoe. He knows immediately. She says, "Why don't you stay out of people's living rooms?" I mean, you just don't pop in. Janice. Right. He says, "What happened with Tommy Mottola?" She said they decided to go with a small record label. And Tony goes, "Oh, yeah, sure."
That was just a deliberate decision rather than go the big route. He kind of knew that something was brewing with her and Janice and Ralph after the meal they had at the house, and they disappeared together. He saw her sitting on his lap during the repast after the funeral for Jackie Jr. So
also at the Crazy Horse, I forgot to mention, Christopher gets high, and she says, "I thought you said you weren't going to once you got the job." He said, "This will be my last time." You know, Christopher, slowly we're seeing him become the junkie.
yeah, it's becoming an issue, that's for sure.
Prison, little Paulie goes visits Big Paulie. Little Paulie doesn't seem that bright to me.
He's not the brightest bulb. Paulie's complaining that nobody went to see his mother. Why do you think nobody went to see his mother? Looked out for him? Is it just out of sight, out of mind? What is it?
How long has Paulie been in jail? How long has he been in jail?
I think it's been a few weeks now.
Well, he should have sent somebody. First of all, little Paulie should have went. He should have sent, maybe Christopher should have went. I don't really expect Tony, the boss, to go, but
I think it's out of sight, out of mind. They're just kind of up doing their own thing.
It's every man for themselves. Who are we bullshitting? They don't give a fuck. You're gone, you're gone.
The end of the day, yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. It's about money, and it's every man for himself. Chrissy says Tony sent us some chocolates. Chrissy said Tony made a killing in real estate down on Frelinghuyser Avenue. Ralph told a funny joke. He's just a fucking motor mouth, little Paulie. He's a
motor mouth. Paulie's upset at this stuff, although Paulie made jokes about Ginny Sack himself.
Yes,
he said that
he
Ginny
did.
needs her own zip code. If you grab on, your hands disappear. When she goes camping, the bears hide their food. He thought it was hysterical. Now he doesn't find the joke funny.
Yeah, very much a hypocrite. He snaps at little Paulie. The Riverfront Esplanade construction site. The other city by the bay is on the sign.
This is a big deal for the Soprano family, building the Esplanade on the riverfront. This is a $300 million close to job, and they're going to make a lot of money off it. They got different contracts, different unions. They'll probably get So this is a big deal for the family.
Christopher pulls up. He's breaking balls. If I was a carpenter and you were a douchebag, he says, it's, this no-show shit is tough, deciding what not to wear to work, what not to put in my lunchbox. Patsy actually complaining. You should try sitting here from 10:30 to 3.
Right.
It's a lot.
4.5 hours.
Sitting there, eating, napping, Vito's placing bets. Whatever they're doing, bullshitting, hanging around, trying to kill the time. Really not much more than they do in the social club or the back of the Bada Bing. They basically do the same shit.
Do the same thing, yeah.
Right?
A lot of gossip.
Big gossipers.
Big
They
gossipers,
also could, these guys know how to solve all the world's problems, if you ask them. If you ever listen to these guys, they know everything. He takes a look. Christopher looks, what is that? High-speed internet access. There's these big cables, big spools.
Fiber optic cable, yeah. Which was
And
big
Vito,
deal back then.
a lot of money in this shit. Christopher always gets an envelope, and Patsy says you put the spores in there.
That's referring to anthrax, which the anthrax thing
Now, isn't there
happened
something
around then.
Didn't there something happen with Tony with the anthrax?
Well,
Schirripa?
the anthrax was sent to some of the news people at NBC at 30 Rockefeller Center. And Tony Sirico was paranoid that he'd be next. As I guess the terrorists, if they really want to bring down American society, you get the news, the media, then you get Paulie Walnuts or Tony Sirico. So he had his buddy, come over to the house, and they took the mail from the mailbox with rubber gloves and then put it in the microwave for 30 seconds, which I guess assuming that it would neutralize the anthrax. I don't know how he figured that out. If he spoke to a physicist or a chemist or something to figure that out. But what actually happened is the mail went on fire and, burned up.
Burned the microwave also. And
Burn-
this is
burn
a
the-
this is a
burn-
1,000% true story. He told you this?
This is a true story. Yeah. He
So
was
he
worried
thought-
about he was really scared that he was going to be anthraxed by
That
terrorists.
somebody mailed him anthrax. There you go.
Right? They had Brian Williams at NBC. Well, who's next? Logically.
I think Tom Brokaw. And
then
next, he's on my list. Melfi's Office. The kid was about that.
But he never got anthrax, so he might have been onto something. They didn't get him.
There you go.
He survived the anthrax, so there
There
you
you
go.
go. Melfi's Office, Tony, the kid was supposed to get a summer job this summer, an internship, and she was going to be a hostess at Artie Bucco's restaurant. Then the babysitting family disappeared to Nantucket. I like when he goes, and then.
And then.
What I
She
find
didn't
it-
want to work, basically. That's the answer.
She doesn't want to work. She wanted to hang out.
But you've done that. I mean, we've done this as parents, right? You feel like you got to intervene, you try to get a job, and they don't really want to do it, the kids. And you put yourself out, and then,
Yeah, but you
They
want to
don't
know
wanna do
something,
it
Michael?
anyway.
In the way the world is now, I'm talking pre-pandemic because I don't know what the fuck the world is now. But the way it was nowadays, kids would take the summer off. Like when I was in college. I mean, I'm an old man, but, I would work at basketball camps. I would work at the parks department, like kind of fun summer jobs. The money wasn't that important. I worked up at Kutcher's and the NBA players camp and, that kind of shit. Now, these kids need internships or they can't get a job when they graduate. It's so competitive, so scarce that both of my daughters, my daughter worked at J.P. Morgan, worked at another place. My younger daughter worked at Tribeca Grill. As a hostess. We always said you got to do something, but you kind of try to do something in your field where you're headed, and it's kind of a necessity nowadays. You can't just take that summer off. She don't give a shit because she knows she's got the backing of her mom and dad.
that's the problem. The backing of her mom and dad, and she's just going to sail through, and she's... Melfi talks about security versus freedom, but one positive thing is that she wants to be close to home, and she says she's depressed. When you ask her to clean, then she really says she's depressed. That's what Tony says, So she's using this as a card, she's playing this grief card.
She says the kids, she's regressing. He says, well, soon she's going to be back in the womb. She complains about Colombia, that it's too competitive. Talks about Jackie drug deal. I kind of have a feeling, and maybe it's just me. I think people kind of know that even Melfi, even later on we're going to see Carmela, they kind of know that Tony had something to do with this or could have prevented this with Jackie Jr. I don't know if everyone's buying this drug dealer story.
I think you're right. Yeah, I think a lot of people, and it's come up. It came up in the last episode at the funeral and stuff that just by him associating with other members of the family, it's put him in jeopardy. It's not so much him that he was this rogue player, that he was involved in the Soprano family and the Soprano crime family, and it's caused his death. I think you're 100% right. She brings up medication. He doesn't want to hear this. It's like, come on, has everything got to be? About this, maybe she'll just pass and get over it. She thinks she should be in therapy. She should be on meds. Tony doesn't want to hear that.
No. They're very quick to prescribe. She didn't even fucking meet the girl. And Melfi wants to put her on medication. What are you talking about? Tony says she'll be all right when she goes back to school. He said Carmela gets the brunt of it. I get a little of it, but she loves me. I know that. And he smiles when he's thinking she's his little girl.
Yeah, and that we've seen that play out. In the last episode, she winds up taking Tony's side when it's with Jackie Jr.'s sister. She's kind of, becomes kind of the loyal daughter. I mean,
You know, my wife,
she has that.
my wife and my daughters, like even on a Saturday, she would never let them sleep all day. She would go in their room, pull up the blanket, and say, let's go, whatever time, 9, 10 o'clock, let's go. None of that sleeping all day. A lot of the college kids, they're out all night and then they sleep all day, There's a lot of that
especially,
going on.
if they're in the dorm, they do whatever they want, then they come home, they think they're going to continue that.
Now with the computers, they're on the computer all night. They're playing Xbox or whatever the fuck they play. All of that stuff,
Yeah.
Meadow's room. Meadow's in bed. Carmela comes in. She says, I decided to take a year off. I'm going to Europe with Misty. That's the girl that came in the house smoking. I don't like her already. Carmela, what are you talking about? She's flabbergasted, Carmela. Where did this come from? I'm not ready. I'm not ready to pick a major. And obviously, she pulls this card. You don't want me around here.
All right. She's manipulating.
Nobody said that. That's not what I said at all. You think I don't want you here? Carmela takes it to heart now. She's kind of, maybe I think she's thinking, well, maybe I've been on her ass too much. Maybe I should have backed off. I think she's thinking that.
Yeah. Well, Meadows, pushing that theory too. She's making her feel guilty. She's making her feel like you don't want me here. You know that I'm depressed. She's a manipulator. She knows how to push their buttons. She knows how to make them feel guilty. She wants to take a gap year.
In Europe, if I'm not mistaken, Europe, when the kids graduate high school, they take a year off. A lot of them travel. They take a year off to themselves before they start college. I believe that's kind of a custom. I could be wrong, but that's what I understand. A lot of them travel wherever they go. They come to the United States, whatever. Artie tends bar. Tony's sitting at the bar. Artie is complaining about, what am I, Bill Gates? He's complaining about Charmaine and money. Tony, you're the bartender. You're supposed to be listening to my problems.
Right.
That's like, do you remember we used to go into Balthazar? You remember that?
Balthazar?
We used to go to Balthazar and Pastis. Right? When the show was on, we all hung out there. They had a bartender there. He was kind of a frustrated actor. I forget his name. And he was bitter and angry. And it was like, we stopped going there. When this guy fucking worked, I couldn't go there. All the
He's getting you depressed.
Complain. And then we used to say, aren't I supposed to tell you my problems? You're the bartender. No lie.
I don't remember that guy. Yeah.
He was an older guy, and, he had done some stuff, and then, it's hard. And he was tending bar, and probably makes $500 a night as a bartender. Yeah. He worked
in those
Balthazar
places,
yeah.
Those are busy places.
Christopher comes in.
Chris is late, as usual. Sorry, I'm late, T. Tony complains you got a call from Mazzarone. Christopher's like, oh, it's the M80 in the porta pot. I mean, another thing we didn't bring up, they're sitting around the construction site. Patsy says, pick up those ice cream. It's almost like they're kids. They're fucking around, throwing M80s in the porta potty, eating ice cream. It's like romper room over there.
Yeah. He asked him if he knew it was going to be boosted, the fiber optic shit. Chrissy does a hemida. Yeah, no, maybe. Chris doesn't admit to it, but doesn't. He really playing both sides there. Well, I did know, but I didn't know. Chrissy gave the okay to do it. He nodded to Patsy. It was his idea to take the shit.
Tony, his words he uses here: use your head, think of the big picture. The big picture. These are phrases that Christopher will wind up using later. He'll imitate these. Tony's going to get money off this, right? He'll get kicked up anyway. But it's not the brightest move. I guess they just feel like they could milk anything. I mean, it's.
Well, Christopher, aren't they insured? It's always that. Oh, you got insurance. They got insurance. The basketball court, very funny scene. Ralphie and Vito are playing basketball.
What do you
Ralph's-
think of Ralphie's skills as basketball
No,
in
he can't.
basketball?
He's terrible. Terrible.
He's terrible.
Terrible.
You'd mop the floor with him probably.
Well, when I could play, now
But you still could play.
I guess, but no. But he made a couple baskets. I mean,
But but you could tell he's not very good.
No, he's not very good. He's a lefty. I don't think Joey plays basketball. Vito, who Joe Gandolfini, I believe, was a really fine athlete in his day. Seriously. Joe was a good athlete.
Yeah.
Joe was a good softball player. Joe, in his day, was a good athlete. It's a very funny scene. He's saying, she's not usually my type, Janice. She's got an earthy quality, I'll give you that. Vito likes her hair. It's those big tits. No disrespect. And Ralphie, of course, there's the issue of her family making her happy wouldn't be the worst thing in the world for my career.
Right. Vito says pre-Raphaelite, which he really means Rubenesque. Pre-Raphaelite's a totally different concept.
He gets tired. It's a very funny scene. And they're wearing shoes. There's no sneakers. They're wearing like dress shoes.
I didn't notice that. See, you noticed that because you're a basketball player.
Yeah.
You were looking to see what kind of footwear.
They're wearing dress shoes. Soprano Kitchen. Carmela's on the laptop looking at financial stuff.
Financial planning. She's still thinking about that stuff. Yeah.
Where is the number of the therapist that Melfi gave you? She's going to go to Europe, your daughter. She's dropping out of school. What the fuck's in Europe? Experience real life art. Some friend of Misty's is making a movie in Denmark. She's going to go back to school. No fucking way. She's going to Europe. Tony says, all this harping on art, I knew it was going to be a problem. And it was going to cause trouble.
They're just trying to figure out where, who to blame, why this happened. He's talking about therapists. She's got her passport. Here's the telling thing. Her passport from Christmas vacation in the Bahamas. So she was in the Bahamas for Christmas, and then she's talking about being down the shore now. So she's like, she's living it up, this kid.
She lives a nice life.
She lives a nice life, That's probably, she's been on a big vacation.
Tony's against her seeing a therapist. He says when she goes back to school, she can see Ivy League counselors.
Counselors, right. He feels like this is all, that Melfi's overreacting, Carmela's overreacting.
Well, I think Carmela is for sure. And
yeah. Tony thinks she needs to get her ass back to work and school and focus on her studies and forget all this, trips in Europe and stuff like that.
Christopher's apartment. They're watching Everybody Loves Raymond.
Didn't they do what? It was a scene in another episode. Adriana's watching Raymond on TV. Yeah.
I figured out what's wrong with that broad, and it's bad shit. I'm going to get high. This is where he says, she says, I thought you were going to stop using junk because of your job. He says, I am. This is my goodbye party with heroin.
Right, which is definitely not the case.
What is it with you and this girl? Why I can't have friends? And now this is where he repeats, wow, with all your intelligence, you can't see the big picture. Where'd you meet her? She says, I met her at the mall, so what? She's a dyke. Adriana had never crossed her mind, you think? She doesn't have a boyfriend. Christopher says she's got a nice ass. Complains about Tony. What, he never heard of a learning curve? Is there a learning curve in the mob?
I guess so.
I don't think
you
there's
make
a
mistakes
curve.
In the beginning. You're overzealous.
I don't think.
Everybody complains about everybody, in the Sopranos. Everybody's unhappy and, feels like they've been slighted and that they deserve more and they're not being respected. They're not appreciated enough. That theme runs through this show constantly. You know what I mean? Here's Tony, gives him a job. He makes him a made guy. Now he's making him a captain. He's telling him he's going to be relying on him. And he complains about, Christopher still finds stuff to complain about. Right here, he tells Adriana, the big picture. He says she's a lesbian.
Adriana says, like Danielle, no good deed goes unpunished. No truer words have been spoken in the history of the English language. You hear me? No good
guess
deed
so.
goes unpunished. I'm telling you. How many times have you gotten burned helping someone? I know I
Is
have.
that going to be part of the the post funeral video? Is that going to be a section?
Listen, I want on the tombstone, it was all bullshit. If I had room, it would say no good deed goes unpunished. You know how many people I've helped get jobs in my life and did nice things for, and it came back to bite me in the ass? And I'm dead serious.
No, I know.
Do you know
I
that?
know what you're saying.
No truer
Well,
words are spoken.
I guess that's going here. He says, use your head. He says, are you blind? And then it's funny because in the next scene, Christopher's like wearing dark glasses, acting like a big shot.
Is that why, or is it
In the
because he's
pizzeria.
high?
Oh, it's probably because he's high. He seems a little bit high in that scene. Not too bad. A little bit.
Christopher,
He's
use your
enjoying
head.
being the boss, that's for sure. Use your head, which is Tony's line. He's mimicking Tony. And he's trying to blame Patsy, but Christopher knew quite well what was going on and what he agreed to.
When Patsy says, when the kid there, Vito, told you how expensive the shit was, you gave me a look, so now you're a fucking mind reader. Chris is, he don't want to take no responsibility.
He don't want the responsibility.
He's waffling.
He's blaming. He's trying to throw Patsy under the bus. In the soundtrack in the background, Ufa Pizzeria, that's Santana. Jingo Laba, which is a great tune. I like Santana a lot. Are you a Santana fan?
I absolutely am.
Do you
He
know
lives
him?
in Vegas, Carlos. No. He lives in Vegas, but I don't know him, no.
We went a couple of years ago. My son Dave is a big Santana fan, and he was playing in L.A. We got tickets, and we went to see him before the show backstage. He was great. We took some pictures. It was Dave's birthday. It was really cool. He was a really nice guy. He opened for Journey. It was a double bill, but Santana was first. And Santana was incredible. His wife plays the drums in the band. His wife is a phenomenal drummer. And the music is just tremendous. The band is great.
He's great.
He's a really good show. Journey,
Well,
I couldn't sit through Journey. It was a guy who Steve Perry doesn't play with Journey anymore. They got a guy who was I think he was in a Journey tribute band in the Philippines or something.
That's like that
And
movie, Rockstar. You ever see that movie? With Mark
No.
Wahlberg? It's a good movie.
Well, is that they find a guy
That's
to
what it
replace.
was.
Well, that's what it is. I mean, he sounds like Steve Perry. That's the weird thing.
Yeah.
So it's almost like watching a tribute band. Although I guess it's Neil Sean Neil Sean actually used to play in Santana. The guitar player from Journey, who's been the guitar player the whole time, actually started in Santana when he was like 16 or something.
Wow.
And he's a tremendous guitar player, but it was just weird not seeing, it's like going to see the Stones and there's some guy who sounds like Mick Jagger singing the song. It's very hard to digest.
Sure. Well, that's
mean?
like Creedence.
Steve Perry's very distinctive singer.
Yeah.
He's a great singer, and it was hard for me. And, sometimes, you see Santana, that's enough. To see another band after that is hard. You see somebody who's so great. So it was hard. I hate saying that, but it was hard to watch. The guy's great, very talented, but it's strange.
Creedence Clearwater went out as another name, and it was
Without John Fogerty?
correct. There was a John Fogerty sound alike.
Yeah.
I want to say they called it Creedence Clearwater Revisited, but it was all the other guys. It was three other guys. Of the original. Cosmo, the drummer, he was a prick. He was very nasty. Prick, smart alecky guy. But he was an original. And they did business for a while. They did business. And
Journey does business, of course. I mean, they tour all the time. They sell out. I mean, the songs are great. It was just weird watching.
Well, the
that.
movie, this movie,
can't explain it to you.
Rockstar, not a great movie, but Wahlberg is a tribute fanatical guy, and they lose their lead singer, and he becomes a rock star, and it's a pretty good. Jennifer Anderson, I like the movie, but that's exactly what it was. Tribute artist.
Yeah.
Isn't there a Billy Joel? There was a Billy Joel tribute artist, good singer, Nice guy. I met him, and now he's in Billy Joel's band.
He's in the band. Was he the singer or was he one of the musicians?
He's a musician with Billy Joel, but I think he was the lead singer.
He was in a Billy Joel band. Yeah,
I believe so. Yeah,
Billy Joel's a good show. I saw him last year at the Garden with our buddy Drew. We got to see Billy before. I've met Billy a few times. He's a really good guy.
He's great. The
show's great. You know, the amazing thing about that show is a lot of young people.
Yeah.
Kids in their 20s who knew every friggin' word. People stand up the whole show and sing every single word of the show.
I don't know
every single word of the songs.
I don't think Billy Joel has had a new song for like 30 years or something.
But it's a fun show.
Years? Oh, it's great.
The songs.
Then he always has a guest star.
He sounds great.
Yeah, he has a guest star.
His voice sounds great.
I was there one night. Tony Bennett came out and sang New York State of Mind. And then the guy from AC/DC, I don't know his name, he came out.
The guitar player?
A guitar player with the hat on, the guy that wears a cap.
Angus Young. Yeah, Angus Young.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a good show. And it's a good New York night seeing Billy Joel for some reason, because he's very iconic New York. But that was at the Garden, great show.
Soprano kitchen table. Carmela, Tony, and Meadow sit at the table. Tony says, you think really going to Europe is a smart move these days? Like Europe's any less safe than here? She says, I keep having images of Jackie Aprile lying in a pool of his own blood on some street somewhere. So what? French discos drive away all sad thoughts, Carmela says. You want to go to Europe? Maybe the College of Hard Knocks is what she needs. And let's see how she likes when the gypsy lifts her wallet.
Yeah, that's the College of Hard Knocks is an old, a lot of times parents feel like, fend for yourself, and, it's not going to be so easy. And part of it is right. Maybe he's saying, go to Europe, deal with it. She brings up, they're going to do a feature. Somebody's friends with Dogma. Dogma was a filmmaking movement started by Lars von Trier. He was one of the people who started it. And it's kind of this purist filmmaking thing where you have to shoot on location. You could only use the props that are actually on that location. You can't, everything has to be handheld. They can't be genre films. The director doesn't take credit. You have to use whatever lights available, or would be available. You can't bring in, it's kind of this purist.
Have you seen any of the movies?
Had a manifesto. Yeah, I mean, I'm not the biggest
like
fan
shit.
of that stuff.
Sounds like it should be shitty.
You probably wouldn't. But that's a Danish thing. Lars von Trier is a Danish filmmaker.
Sounds like shit.
That's what she's referring to. Although she says it's DV, and I think Dogma was pretty much 35 mil.
TV cam, she says. Tony says, go to Europe, run with the Bulls, whatever the fuck they do over there. Good luck trying to get a permit. The French hold on to the permits like they're holding their balls.
Right. And did you notice that weird sound effect when Tony's anger is brewing?
No.
It's very interesting. While he's listening to her, there's this sound effect, this noise. It's almost like an internal dialogue of his anger coming up. It's very interesting if you get.
I did not notice that.
Really nice little touch there, I have to say.
Soprano bedroom closet. Carmela and Tony argue. The more we fight, the more she's going to want to go. She meet other boys over there. She says, you want to be with a European? Well, look at Furio. He's not so bad. What did be marry a European? What marry? What are you talking about? She's 19 years old.
Yeah, she's
what's with this marrying shit?
Getting way ahead of herself, isn't she?
I mean, what are you doing? She's not going to take this drastic step without talking to someone first. She's pushing for Meadow to go see this Wendy.
And it's not just because of Jackie Jr. It's because she's leaving. She wants to, Carmela is all in with Columbia too. There's a status thing that Carmela enjoys with that. And she's a little bit worried about that too. On top of it, that's part of it.
She loves that her daughter lives in New York City and goes to Columbia. Both of them wear that on their sleeve. Absolutely.
Yeah.
Wendy Cobbler's office, played by the great Linda Lavin, is just terrific. She's been in so many good things. She's been around.
The star of Alice, which was a spin-off of Scorsese's Alice Doesn't Live Here Anymore. She was on that for several years. She's a Tony winner from play Broadway Bound, Obie winner for Death Defying Acts, which was a Woody Allen play. She's she's really good, and she's great in this.
She's so good
as this character.
The Muppets Take Manhattan. I was in a Muppet movie. I've worked with the Muppets.
Which one were you in?
I was in Muppets Christmas.
Were they nice to you on set? Were they welcoming? Were they kind? Yeah.
They're great, the Muppets.
Are they? Are they nice?
Very much so. After a little while, and I'm not joking, you just look them in the eye like you're an actor. You honestly forget that they're puppets. You have the puppeteers underneath you. You don't see them. And it's, I did it with Tony Sirico, 2 different things. I did a Sesame Street one with him. And
How was he with the puppets?
He was good with the puppets. Tony, we had a lot of fun. We did it at the Strip House restaurant, the steakhouse.
On 13th Street.
And we were in a red booth. And the rat, it was the rat and the some other character. And it was a lot of fun. Really had a good time.
Strip House is maybe 12th Street or 11th.
Yeah, me and Tony, and it was a lot of fun.
That sounds fun, but you really start to believe that it's a living thing.
I'm not joking. You're looking them in the eye. They're making their movements. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah.
After a while, you're just acting with the puppet. Let me tell you, some of those puppets are better than some real people actors I've worked with.
I bet. Yeah. No, I don't want
to mention any names.
No, don't mention names.
I don't want to mention any names. Usually I'm outspoken, but I'm not going to mention names. She says that when I asked you about your dad did for a living, you said waste manager, wink, wink. What does wink, wink mean? You mentioned Jackie's father was in the Mafia. I didn't realize your dad was too. There's no such thing as the Mafia, Meadow says. I said Jackie's dad was a loan shark.
Yeah, interesting that she says that. She's being protective. Being protective of her dad.
And then she gives the universal symbol for wise guy, the old broken nose.
Broken nose, yeah. And then she brings up the funeral, how everybody was drinking and blubbering and these saccharine ballads that being played, which we spoke about at the end of the funeral, that sentimentality that David was, she feels like it's all bullshit, that they're all, they're getting all sentimental with this song, and they're all backbiting and, full of shit, and there's a hypocrisy, and it made her, really upset. And then the therapist, what do you think of her as a therapist?
Well, I mean, right off the bat, she says, why don't you go on antidepressants? It's not going to cost you anything. You don't have to pay for it. That's odd. Right. It's odd that she came out of nowhere. No mention of molestation was mentioned at all, that she would say, does your dad molest you? Does your mom molest you? I mean, where is this coming from?
Right. And she sides with Meadow. She said, your parents should examine their own needs, blow off their I'll give you an antidepressant to tide you over. It's kind of like she's kind of enabling these whatever behaviors.
She undermines exactly what Tony and Carmela wanted. Her parents should work on her self-esteem. It's like she's trying to gain points with Meadow. I could get you into the University of Barcelona. That's a hot school. I'm on the board.
Right. I'm a hot school.
I mean, I'm very surprised that Melfi would recommend her.
Maybe she worked for some other people in the past. Who knows? Maybe she doesn't know her that well. Who knows?
I mean, Melfi is very, I think, very good at her job. And I'm very surprised that she would, she seems like an old hippie. Because when she says I smoked weed or whatever, that's okay. This is what Wendy reminds me of. Very free-thinking hippie, kind of like you, kind of like yourself. In your day, you were a free spirit.
What are you talking about?
If you were a therapist,
I don't know what you're talking about. I feel
if you were a therapist, you would be kind of like,
No, you have no idea what I would do as a therapist. You really don't.
well, you're thinking about doing it, you told me.
Yeah, but not necessarily like that.
Well, what kind of therapist would you be?
A good one.
I understand,
Very
but what?
good one.
Stricter?
No, you're just trying to get to the root of the problem. She's just kind of just saying, just do what you feel like doing. She's not, doesn't seem like there's anything, they're not getting to the root of the problem or getting to her being honest with herself. That's not happening.
But is there a problem? Or maybe a kid that's 19 doesn't know what she wants and just wants to get the fuck out of there.
But that's
is there
honest.
a problem?
I don't think so. But everyone's kind of, everyone's trying to make it like there's a problem. There is no. The problem is you're 19 and you don't know what the fuck you want.
Exactly.
Which is kind of normal, actually. And she's had a hard year and she is getting lazy. Maybe it's better if she doesn't go to school right now.
At 19, all I wanted to do was get drunk and get laid. That's all I wanted.
Yeah, that's a lot of 19-year-olds.
I think that's normal.
A lot of 60-year-olds, too.
Bada bing, back room. Silvio's in the back. Tony walks in. Silvio, I was talking to Patsy. Sounds like.
Well, he says funny. He goes, an asshole slipped on a lime wedge. He finds that funny. That's what he says. Olivia loved seeing people fall. I guess,
Bachelor party out there. It's busy. Chrissy got a little Napoleon thing going on. What's the problem? Patsy feels bad. Maybe he was passed over. So what the fuck do you care? Last year you were pushing me to whack him. I think Silvio's talking about himself here.
So Silvio's talking about himself.
Feels
Tony's kind of okay with
marginalized.
Chrissy being kind of being a douche. He's kind of okay with Christopher throwing his weight around.
I got to say one thing about Tony as a boss. He doesn't meddle in the petty things.
He lets them sort it out themselves, right? Yeah.
I think you kind of have to.
Right. He's saying Patsy feels bad. Well, what do you care? So he feels bad. He's passed. So Tony doesn't really give a shit that Patsy feels marginalized.
Yeah.
Tough luck. You're lucky. He's lucky he has a job.
He's on borrowed time, Patsy. He was going to go last year when he complained about his brother. What was Patsy's brother's name?
Philly.
We're at the Crazy Horse. The band's playing. Christopher, let's celebrate. Takes them in the back room.
Says, I like your pants. What are they, leather? So now he's already working this.
He's been thinking about this.
He's figuring if she's a lesbian, that maybe they could be some kind of menage a trois fantasy thing acted out with the three of them. He's already got that in his head. He's
being playful, making out with Adriana. I could be a rapper. I'm a bitch. You're my bitch. You're my hoe. Whatever he says. He starts making out with Adriana. They do some coke. Danielle says, I'll stick to the champagne. Obviously, I don't think an FBI agent could do coke or drugs, right?
I don't think they're supposed to. No. I think that would put them in danger, yeah.
Christopher puts his hand on her thigh, on Danielle's thigh, and she pushes it off. Adriana catches her. What are you doing? Starts yelling at Christopher, screaming and yelling.
She says you in those fucking videos.
You in those videos.
So that's that Christopher thought he was going to make some porn scene, that it was going to,
Well, there was no streaming then. No porn
scene come to life. That's what he thought was going to happen.
No Pornhub, no X video. This is VHS in the old days. Or DVDs.
Yeah, DVD probably by now, yeah.
You piece of shit. And he turns it all around to the point where she's apologizing to him. She's crying.
He blames her. He said, she says, you said she had a nice day. I was trying to say something positive because she's your friend. She's trying to break us up. He says that she put my hand on her thigh, that she was trying to do it, and
she's pissed off. Adriana's really pissed off. A buddy of mine, his name was Barry. He was the entertainment director of a hotel in Atlantic City. And he told me he went on vacation I want to say maybe to the Bahamas or Puerto Rico or something. And he was engaged. He had been with this woman for like 2 or 3 years. And he said they were by the pool, and there was a good-looking girl across the pool by herself. And his fiance says, hey, why don't we invite her over to join us? And he said, well, what are you talking about? He said, I don't know, she's lonely. She seems like she could be fun. So he says he has no idea what's going on, right?
Right.
And they have fun, they're drinking, invites her to dinner. Long story short, he finally catches on. His fiance is hitting on this girl out of nowhere. Never talked about, having a threesome, or maybe if they did, I guess most couples mention it at some point, whatever. And that night, after dinner, they drank champagne, had a threesome. He was very turned off, he told me. His girlfriend was very aggressive, kind of barking, making demands. And he said the next morning, he said he got up, he put his robe on, that was it.
Well, that's where the expression "three's a crowd" comes from.
Really?
Oh, yeah. Of course. Where do you think it comes from?
Well,
it's an odd number. It doesn't work with people. It's bad.
You know, he was telling me he was younger. I was younger then, and he was kind of giving advice, not to ever do that with someone you care about, and it blew his whole thing.
Yeah, 4 is better than 3 because it's even number. Someone's
that
not.
movie?
Someone always.
Ted and
Someone
Carol?
always feels left out, right?
What's that movie?
Bob, Carol, and Ted and Al. I think that was Paul Mazursky.
Well, he said that he was not into it, and at some point he stepped out, and she didn't like that. She said, "Get back in here," and he said he just stood and drank champagne and went into the other room. And let that be a lesson to you, kiddies.
3's a crowd. Remember
3's
that.
a crowd, but 4's okay.
Odd number.
4 is okay.
4 is even. You
but
can
is
split
it
it
2
up
guys,
evenly.
2 girls, okay, or 3 girls, 1 guy?
You do the math,
3 guys,
Steve.
1 girl. How's it work?
I don't know.
What combination of 4?
Steve,
I'm getting complicated. I'm asking you a question.
You're getting way.
Wow.
Now I'm getting confused. Let's move on.
You got your fucking underwears in a bunch
3's
today.
3's a crowd. Just remember that, kids.
Bada bing back room. You should see the floor tiles, Patsy saying.
Silvio's fixing a golf trophy.
Yeah, golf trophy. the crazy glue is all dried up. Someone left the cap off. Mexican travertine.
Travertine, which is like a natural stone, like granite or marble.
No more dipping at the job, according to fucking Alfalfa. They called Christopher Alfalfa, but the order came down from Tony. Silvio.
Why Alfalfa? Because he's a kid? Is that what he's kind of making him like he's a kid?
He's Alfalfa's a fucking dog.
Over his head.
Yeah, I guess. Alfalfa from the Little Rascals, so people know. The order comes from Tony. Silvio, go ahead. Knock off the towel. Tony says no. Patsy says. Silvio, I got your back. Just flat out defiant, flat out disobeys the order.
So this is a chess move because he knows like Tony's going to have to get mad. Tony's going to go to Silvio, and Silvio knows that he could play a card here and that Tony's going to let it go. He's you know what I mean? He knows what's going to happen.
Yep,
He can figure it out. He's going to give Tony money, and he's going to say it's a misunderstanding. And Tony, he's basically saying, well, we'll get to that scene, but it's an interesting move. It's a very deliberate move.
Absolutely, flat out. Soprano kitchen. Janice is reading a newspaper. Tony walks in downstairs. So how's your love life? Why don't you mind your own goddamn... I love the exchanges between them. They're very funny.
Really good.
I don't know. It kind of feels like it is my business, considering I had to haul your last boyfriend out of here in a hefty bag.
She says it's always condescension and sabotage. But Tony's right. Ralphie brutally murdered a very innocent young girl. Ralphie's a psychopath.
Well, she doesn't know this.
Person.
She doesn't know this.
She doesn't know it, but Tony,
she tells him you're a miserable fuck.
Jealous.
You're just like
You're
Mom.
jealous of his sense of style. Ralph Lauren, collegiate. My happiness drives you crazy. Yeah, but Tony, he's trying to protect her, I guess. But there's a lot of animosity between the two of them.
They're great scenes whenever they get together. We got Deborah at Danielle's house. Adriana calls, extremely upset. You left 5 fucking messages, Danielle. Can't you take a hint? I thought we were friends. Did you take his hand off your leg? I tried. Don't ever call me again. Deborah, 4 months worth of work down the drain.
So then we cut to the FBI office. Agent Deborah's there with Agent Harris and Cubitoso. And basically saying, let's just bring her in straight up. Consider the undercover operations a dead issue. Agent Harris says, you know what the problem is, right? She gave Moltisanti a hard on. Well.
And, Cubitoso says, so what, are we only going to hire skevusas? Ugly girls. He says, I had a dream about her last night.
He said he had a dream about Agent Deborah.
Correct.
Right? Yeah.
And he tells her good job, good work. And she doesn't like Christopher at all. She calls him a little shit.
She doesn't like him, and but the undercover operation's dead, but they got in. They're in.
The golf course, Artie and Tony are on the green.
Johnny V doing a little Ed Norton golf thing.
Absolutely. Artie meets Jack. Tony introduces him. Right away, all Artie says is, you had a problem with the stracciatella.
Stracciatella, which is egg drop soup.
Egg drop with spinach, right? Soup?
It's usually spinach, sometimes with little meatballs. But,
Tony says, this boring cocksucker, Jehovah Witnesses are more interesting.
He says, how's your balls? Which was a common greeting around the Sopranos set. How's your rash? And how's your balls? Very common.
Jack, it's not the fiber optics. I'm talking about the floor tiles. They crushed a shed on the way out. Tony is blindsided. He has no idea. Christopher drives up with Adriana like a wild man. He's pissed. He comes out. He slaps Patsy. You had to come back for more. I distinctly told you to lay off. I talked to Silvio. He gave the order. Christopher says, you work for me, not Silvio. I told you to knock it off.
Patsy doesn't like it. That's for sure.
The laborer says, I'm calling the cops.
Chris pulls a gun. Patsy gets a pipe. The laborer's going to call the cops. Christopher gets in the car. Patsy cracks him with a pipe.
Calls him Ralph. Who are you, Ralph Bunch, who was African-American diplomat in the 50s. He helped mediate stuff with Israel. I got to tell you, Patsy stood up to Christopher. Even after he pulled the gun, he had that pipe. He was.
He's
very ready to go.
Very angry and very brave. Keep your mouth shut, Vito. Vito said, the guy's, got his head cracked, and they goes, get him to the hospital, and Vito threatens him, says, keep your fucking mouth shut.
Meadow bedroom. Now things really come to a head here. Meadow's in bed on the phone. She wants a tuna sandwich.
Meadow feels victorious now after the therapist. The therapist took her side. She feels like now her parents have to listen to whatever she says. Carmela says, hang up that phone. And the attitude when she says, excuse me, really, really bratty in this scene, I must say. She's Jamie Lynn Sigler does a terrific job in this episode. Because she's nothing like that at all. No,
nothing at all.
Jamie Lynn's the sweetest person. She does a great job in this episode.
Great job. She's always great. She's great in this episode. I'm sure the audience felt like we did. Very annoyed. Carmela asks about the therapist. Meadow says, I don't have to tell you. She says, Carmela says, is that why we spent $200? She said Wendy told her it's her right to drop out.
Right. It's her right to drop out, and that it might interest you to know she thinks I should be on Prozac.
And she
playing the victim thing.
She said that. Tony comes in. It's getting heated up here. He says, I could crush Melfi's head like a walnut. Jackie was murdered, Meadow says. What am I, in Afghanistan? Carmela says, yeah, I get it. I get it. I get it. What you want. Everything's what you want. That's for babies.
She, Carmela and Tony thought this therapist was going to straighten her out.
She thought she was going to take her side,
You thought they were going to take their side.
That would have been that. This is the worst thing that could have happened. She's very confident. I don't get it. She says, I'm a grown woman. I could do what I want when I want. Carmela says, yeah, that's for babies, right? Then it comes up. Listen to Mr. Mob Boss when Tony speaks.
Yeah.
And he jumps up, and when he gets in her face, you see Meadow scared for the first time.
Yeah. You got something you want to say to me? Well, she also, I forgot to mention the pivotal work ethic in this family.
Yeah. But he looks her in the eye, and he's got that look.
Yeah. You got something you want to say? You're referring that I do everything I could to keep that kid from fucking himself up? Didn't I smack him around when he needed to? And she's just...
Can't we be honest for 3 seconds?
Yeah.
I think Tony feels guilty that Meadow is so screwed up by this. And I think he's feeling it for ordering Jackie Jr. dead. And I think at this moment, Carmela realizes, for whatever reason, Tony had something to do with this.
I agree. I think you're right.
I think so.
Something to do with it, just, didn't... Part of it's just being part of that, being involved in that world, involved in that family, and he feels that too to some degree.
Great scene, great scene, all three.
Really good acting all around. You're absolutely right. Another great scene. Yeah.
Adriana's walking her dog. A car pulls up. It's Harris and Deborah, Agent Harris. I believe you two have met. She cannot believe what she's seeing, Adriana.
It's just complete shock, and like the floor just is, opens up under her feet.
She really thought Deborah Danielle was her friend. She says, "I told you stuff in confidence." I think she's more hurt.
And that's going to turn to fear now. See what the stakes she's facing. I mean, and Dre is tremendous in these scenes. Yeah. Really, her acting is, you really sense the desperation and the fear and the regret and all of it. It's great acting.
She says, am I under arrest? It could change momentarily. They really put the pressure on her. There's a search warrant in your club. Listen, they don't have anything on her. But she doesn't know that at this time. They don't have anything. If this went to court, an attorney would get her off the hook. What are you
Well, what they have is... What they have is, if they do take it to court, it comes out that she's been hanging out with an FBI agent. That's what they have. I understand and she knows that.
Yeah, I understand that. But I'm just saying, she wasn't selling them drugs, She wasn't selling drugs.
Deborah says we have it on tape saying it is your coke.
I don't know if she does or she doesn't. Maybe if she has that on tape, she has the thing about the abortion.
Right. She might not remember saying it. She was,
that she can't
drunk.
have kids.
Who knows? Right.
If you say no, you'll be placed on the arrest charge with possession, intent to distribute. After you make bail, you can explain to Tony Soprano why you brought an undercover federal agent into his home during Sunday dinner. That sounds really bad.
Really scary. I mean, before they say we're offering you a way out, a chance to save your life and Christopher's life. We're not asking you where or why. We just want information. I mean, it's the worst case scenario has just happened to her.
Well, if this ever gets out, Adriana and Christopher will be dead.
Big trouble.
Both of them.
Yeah. And the puke goes all over the table.
Great shot of the dog running out from under the table when she pukes. There's a great shot of the dog underneath the table running. She pukes all over them. It's really disgusting, to be honest. I wonder what that was. And then a
shot, prop mixture. Well, then you see the diamonds. There's a shot of Agent Deborah looking at the diamonds with the puke. I guess it's like all that glitters isn't gold. Some kind of, metaphor is saying that, At what cost has this all,
I mean, what do you do? I mean, what do you do if you're Adriana, honestly? I mean, she did nothing wrong. She was a weak link. I mean, what do you do? She befriended
She's a weak
someone.
link. Well, eventually she tries to get Christopher to leave. They go into,
I'm just saying, what do you do? I mean, she is just fucked.
She certainly is.
She did nothing, like I said. She just was living her life, to be honest. Soprano house. Silvio arrives, tells Tony he looks like shit. It's Meadow. We think she ran off to Europe. They go into the basement. There's floor tile. Misunderstanding.
Yeah, misunderstanding. Did you deliberately disobey me? Of course not. And the way he delivers the line is great, Stevie. He just he's almost saying, it's very flat. The delivery's like, of course not, like very almost good. Lip service. It's really good. The timeline got fucked up. It's a misunderstanding. So he's basically saying, right here, now you have a choice. Either you're going to believe me and let this go, Silvio's saying this, or,
He says, is this a hanging offense?
Yeah.
He says, you're getting strange in your old age. But then, once again, Tony says that's probably worth about $30,000. He doesn't tell him to return the tile. He says it was about $30,000. He gives him $2,000. Says there's more on the way. Silvio was pissed. Like we've said a million times here, like a broken record, it's all about money. That's what it's about.
At the end of the day, it's okay.
Janice's bedroom. Ralphie's cutting his toenails. Hits Janice in the face with a toenail clip.
Janice is reading The Origin of Satan. Again, another reference to Ralphie being the devil. I think her getting hit with the toenail, she's kind of realizing what is it that she's doing in this relationship is what.
So once you get hit with shrapnel and he's laughing.
The Origin of Satan is a book on philosophy, by the way, which kind of ties into the next scene because Meadow is signing up for her classes and she's Intro to Social Theories closed out and she winds up doing Morality, Self, and Society, which is a philosophy class.
So I guess Tony got through to her.
I guess it got through, and also she's taking philosophy about morality. Interestingly enough, she's going to take a class, Morality, Self, and Society.
Well, there's not much left.
No, but she's, it's what she brought up in the last scene was morality, and her father and being a gangster. Did he do the right thing? Did he not? Can he do the right thing? The fact that he's in the mob, and where does that leave her relationship to her? So it's almost like this episode was like a rite of passage for her in a way. It's interesting.
Soprano bathroom. Tony walks in. He said, after, he shut down the whole estate planning when she had brought it up in previous episode. I was thinking we could talk to Brian. Listen to him now. Why you feel guilty? You have nothing to feel guilty about. It's me she blames. What for?
That's going back to the.
I think Meadow blames her for going along with the whole spiel.
No. The deal with the devil. That's when Sully Boyer, who played that therapist that Carmela goes to see, kind of referring to that, where he's saying, blood money, you're part of it. Get out when you can. Take the kids. She's,
I think Meadow's thinking, hey, my father, I get it. He grew up as a part of it. His father was in the mob. I get that. He maybe had no choice, but Carmela has a choice and had a choice.
Yeah, you're right. And she's kind of, I think, pointing the finger at Carmela as being a hypocrite. Whereas, like you said, Tony, he is what he is, but Carmela goes to church and preaches this whole thing and culture.
She's the biggest hypocrite. The biggest, the absolute biggest hypocrite.
It ends with that really cool wide shot of Carmela in the bathtub and Tony at the sink and the distance between them in this kind of luxurious bathroom. And there's distance and this kind of coldness. Kid A by Radiohead comes on. I slipped on a little white lie is one of the lyrics. It's instrumental for a while. Another interesting point. The song Kid A is the second song on Radiohead's fourth album. And this episode is the second episode of the fourth season.
You think that's a coincidence?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think it's a coincidence.
Or is it some spooky blah, blah,
No,
blah, blah, blah.
I think it's just
some conspiracy shit?
I absolutely think that is a coincidence. How's that?
Very good. Great episode. Great acting. I mean, all the episodes are so great. I'm enjoying watching them. I can't preface that enough. Even though you weren't, you're a little grumpy today. I don't know what happened to you, but
I'm not
you
grumpy
came
at
through
all.
at the end.
I think this episode, and this season, I mean, as dark as The Sopranos is from the beginning, this season it's really starting to turn darker. The drug use, Adriana, Jackie's dead now, Ralphie, the stakes. I mean, it's, a
lot of sadness, even Bobby with his wife.
Yeah,
and the thing.
Bobby's wife. Yeah, the darker, it's turning darker.
Ralphie's, I'll vote for Ralphie as being the worst character. The most despicable. Even worse. Yeah, worse than Richie Aprile even.
Worse than Richie, yeah. Ralphie's much more, I think, worse, yeah.
So, Michael, now it's time for the Ask Me Anything segment. And I just want to tell everyone out there, please continue to send in questions. They're saying you don't pick enough women. You're only picking people from, overseas. Listen, we pick the best questions that we think we have the answers for. There's no favoritism.
I don't care where you are.
Yeah. Really, come on now. Just please send in the questions. We're doing the best we can. The winner of our AMA Best Question is Craig from Oxford, England, and we're sending Craig a pair of Bose headphones.
I went to Oxford when I was 14. I stayed there with a family. I went to Oxford, London, and Shrewsbury with my soccer team, and we stayed in Oxford. That's obviously where the university is. A beautiful city.
Did everyone from the team stay with the same family, or you broken up?
No, two guys would go with the family.
And how was your family?
They were great. She was a tremendous cook who had a lot of kids. She cooked fish and chips, and it was delicious. Oxford's a beautiful city. There's a good British crime detective show called Endeavour that's set in Oxford. That's really, you could see the beauty of the city if you watch that show. But anyway, Craig, hello to Oxford from us here on Talking Sopranos. Craig asks, he wants to ask about Aida Turturro and the character Janice. What was it like to work with the fantastic Aida Turturro? Her character really shook everything up, and she is an incredible actor. Steve's character, Bobby, ended up marrying her. What do you think Janice did after Bobby died? Would she have been a good mother, or as he says, would she have been a good mom to Bobby's kids? Well, you take the lead on that because you had the most to do with Janice. What do you think?
First of all, Aida, who I knew, but not that well because, before, I didn't know her at all before the show, but when we started working together, when Bobby and Janice were coming together, I didn't really know her. And she said, listen, we're going to be having a lot of work together. And I went up to her apartment. And we worked. And she was great. Then a couple times I met her in the park. She used to live in Gramercy.
By Gramercy Park, right.
By Gramercy Park. She used to live there. And we went up there. And she had a very nice apartment. And then we went to the park a few times down in the East Village, and we worked on our lines and ran lines, and I got to tell you, I never ever had a problem with Aida Turturro. She was just fantastic and a lot of fun, and even though she was nominated, I think twice for an Emmy, a very underrated actress, very underrated.
She's on Sopranos. Her performance is one of the best out of anyone.
Just incredible.
And she's a great lady, and like you said, a lot of fun. We always have a good time together, a lot of laughs, and she takes her work seriously, but she doesn't take herself too seriously.
No,
you know
and
what I mean?
She don't take no shit. I'll tell you that.
She don't take no shit.
And but when she was on as a guest, you could see how much fun she is, and I really, I couldn't ask for a better wife, TV wife. She was really a lot of fun and so good. And she would say, like, this is a hard scene. Not every scene is so easy, as you know. Especially, it's not just about, oh, I know my lines, so it's going to be easy.
No,
there's some hard scenes. There's some changes need to be made. Tones need to be changed. In one scene, you could hit 5 different. I got to be happy. I got to be sad. I got to be angry. There's different layers and colors all in this one scene.
All right, you got to make the transition smooth and organic. And she's and it's not always about the emotion either. Sometimes it's more subtle than that. It's just about the behavior and reacting and being in the moment. What do you think? With the second part of the question here, what do you think Janice did after Bobby died? And would she have been a good mom?
Well, we talked about who she would have wound up with.
And what did we say?
I don't know. We mentioned Paulie, but
I don't think so.
Paulie's too vain to be with any woman.
Paulie doesn't want to settle down. And what about, someone mentioned Artie. What about Artie Bucco?
Maybe.
I don't know about that. Do you think she would have took care of Bobby's kids?
She lived in this big house. I think she did take care of the kids. I would say, yeah.
You do? I don't.
Think so. No?
I don't. No.
She got rid of them? Well, she didn't get rid of the baby. It's her
kids
kid.
Probably, they wound up with, family members of foster home.
Well, Bobby's 2 older kids, the one they had together.
Yeah.
They had a kid together.
They had a kid together. One. She'll keep that one. But the other ones,
she had Johnny
maybe not.
Sack's old house, that big mansion, that became theirs.
Yeah.
I think she still has them there.
Now, did they get married? Bobby, is he married to her?
Yeah, he's married to her.
He did get married. Yeah. Did they have did you have a wedding? Is that on the show or no? It happens off screen.
Wedding. And he would never have kids out of wedlock, Bobby. You know that.
He's a straight arrow, isn't he?
Straight arrow.
Missionary, is that what you said?
Missionary position. None of that Ralphie shit.
None of that shenanigans. No.
None of that Ralphie stuff.
None of that crazy
I think
stuff.
You know what? I think that in Bobby's name, she would have kept taking care of those kids, stay in that house. Tony would have saw to it. That's what I think. And I don't know who she could have wound up with. Maybe not, after being with Bobby, who was in the life, but a straight arrow. I don't know.
Yeah.
Maybe she married a regular guy, a 9-to-5er.
Some guy who has a business or something, yeah. Maybe.
She gets guys. Guys like her. She has no problem.
They like her.
Guys.
She's got a wild side that she's a free spirit. She's got a wild side, But a great actress, Aida Turturro, and a good lady.
A lot of fun. A lot of fun. We got to talk to her. Maybe she'll come back on before we're finished with this podcast. I hope so. All right, so thanks for listening. Remember, new episodes are released every Monday. Please subscribe to the Talking Sopranos podcast on YouTube, Apple Music, Spotify, Amazon, or wherever you get your podcasts. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram, and like us on Facebook. And right now, you can get official Talking Sopranos merchandise on TalkingSopranos.com or through our YouTube channel.
Our executive producers, Jeff Sussman, producers Andy Verderam. Our music was composed and performed by Elijah Amaton. You can hear more of Elijah's music and the band Zopa, which Elijah and I play in together, by clicking the links on TalkingSopranos.com. Our production crew includes Ty Verderam and Sierra Schirripa. We record Talking Sopranos at NYC Podcasting, which is New York's premier podcasting studio. Talking Sopranos is a Pod Jams production.
I don't agree with you with much, but you did pick this studio, NYC podcast, and you were right. I'm admitting, I unlike you, I'm a bigger man. I'll admit when I'm wrong, and I don't
admit when I'm wrong. Huh?
No, when have you ever admitted you were wrong?
When was I wrong?
Holy shit. On that note, I'll see you next week, man. What
Deal
the
it.
fuck, folks?